Well, hey there, my friend. Welcome back to the Creative Shop Talk podcast. I'm your host, Wendy Batten, with a bit of a scratchy throat today because I am just coming off of teaching and hosting my mastermind members here in my own little town. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. I wanted to share some of the takeaways that maybe you could implement or that you might be interested in hearing about from our recent mastermind meetup. And I'm still vibing, so I'm a little bit giddy. I am doing this podcast off the cuff. I say off the cuff, meaning that this wasn't in the plan, but I really felt like there were some great takeaways for everybody that I wanted to make sure I shared. So without further ado, let's jump into sharing some of the cool things that happened during our retreat and some things that I think you might find helpful for yourself in your business. Let's go. Running a retail business doesn't have to be so hard. Welcome to the Creative Shop Talk podcast, the go-to podcast for creative shop owners, studio owners, and independent retailers. I'm your host, Wendy Batten, retail business coach and mentor. Each week, I'll share simple, proven business strategies, inspiring stories from fellow retailers, and advice from industry experts. Together, we're going to work to find the success you want from your retail business with more profits in your till and a little more joy in your life. Okay, so last week, I had the privilege and the pleasure to host some of my mastermind members. We ended up being a small group. We had passport issues and there were some last minute family things. And so a few people couldn't make it, but we had a great time. I'm going to tell you, I was a little nervous because prior to our Level Up Mastermind retreat meetup, I guess I should explain. I host a mastermind group. If you don't know that, waitlist is actually open right now for the next cohort. So it's a year-long program. It's our Level Up Mastermind group. We have monthly meetups, meetups on Zoom, virtually. We all meet up, but twice a year I try to bring the group together. Since COVID, I guess we've been able to do it a few times now, and it's been wonderful. This year, 2024, we met up in North Carolina and had a fabulous meetup there. And most recently, we met up here in my hometown. And I live in a small fishing village. And prior to this meetup, I was in my own mastermind group, hanging out with some of my peers, other fellow coaches. And they all thought I was crazy. So crazy to host in my home, because I did bring everybody to my home, not for all the meetings, but for part of it. Crazy to bring them to my town, and just, I don't know, they're wonderful people, and they know we're having this conversation, and they had valid reasons and, for what they were thinking. But I guess I do business a little bit differently. So I was a little hesitant prior to them coming, just because of that thought, that thing that goes in your head when somebody says you shouldn't do that. And I was like, I'm going to do it anyway. So we had a wonderful time. I felt so grateful to have clients come from all over the globe. So we had members fly in from Scotland, we had a member fly in from New Zealand, we had members from the US and a member from Canada come and join me here in my tiny fishing village where I live in a place called Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. Go Google it. It's kind of fun. And most of them extended vacations. They were kind of a beautiful location here. So a lot of them, if they're going to travel that far, they extended vacations. So we ended up with almost a full week, actually over a week. It was 8 days of hanging out with people. So it was wonderful. I tried to make time not just during the retreat. My husband, John, was able to take some of the partners, some of the husbands that were here kayaking. We extended it by doing I invited everybody to go for my morning walk with me by the sea. And we did a morning walk, and then we did coffee on the rocks at the end of my driveway. It's all very fancy, right? Can we just normalize actually hanging out and caring about our people and not needing this filter in front of things, in front of all the things? I guess that's my differentiator. I don't know. I guess that makes me a little bit different. I that's just what you see is what you get. So what you're listening to right now on the podcast, this is how I chat if you were in any of my programs as well, too. I just felt like it was important to kind of, I don't know, I care. I guess caring deeply. Can we also normalize that? Can we normalize caring about our clients and how their business is doing and how their whole life is doing? I'm a big believer in our businesses and our lives are so intermeshed, right? If you're listening to this and you're running a retail business, your life, it's all messy. It's probably all messed in together, right? It's all one big soup pot of life and business. So I love, caring about my people because I care about my business. And I also am not super, I guess I'm not private. Is that the right way to say it? But anyhow, what you see is what you get. I don't hide things. So it was a privilege and a huge pleasure to have everybody here. So we had people coming from, again, people flew in, so we took them out. One of our New Zealand group we took out, they were here earliest. They came in early and we went out on our boat. We took them out to our little cocktail island. Let's just be honest, that's what we call it. If you follow me on Instagram, you already know that. So we have this little island and we had a little picnic on the island. We had our members join us here for dinner one night and we made seafood casserole and we had what we call a Nova Scotia kitchen party where we had a big pot of mussels and we were on my deck, and then it actually ended up turning into a late night campfire, which I was like, oh my gosh, these are my business dreams coming true, hanging out with my people in my backyard. So to my peers who thought that was just like, oh my gosh, I could never do that, or I wouldn't want to do that, I wouldn't want people in my home, to how I do business, it was a privilege and a pleasure. And I was like so filled with joy, like personally. I think they all had fun too, but we sat around the campfire and talked shop, and we sat on the rocks by my house and talk shop on the rocks, and it was just so fun. So I guess I run business a little bit differently, so there you go. If that turns you off, you might as well tune out right now. But it was just a wonderful experience to have everybody here. We had dinner together most nights. It was wonderful being able to show them a little bit of our town. We had wildly crazy weather swings. Like we planned for colder weather in September and it was so hot. It was like, blah. It was really hot. It was very unusual for here to be that hot. So, but we all adjust, right? It's what we do. We're retailers. We all kind of figured it out. We met in a beautiful location right down on our waterfront. We had a couple of our sessions, or one of our sessions, outside on a wharf. Again, I was like, I am sitting here on my wharf near my, in my community with boats bobbing by on a beautiful day, like working. We were doing hot seats on the wharf. It was wonderful. So anyway, all in my bucket, it was all filled, and we had a wonderful time. And feedback from my members has been wonderful as well too. So that's the kind of mastermind I like to run. I guess mastermind, it's educational, but also we all care about each other. So I just wanted to come and share, I guess, some things that we did talk about, some takeaways from the mastermind, from things that were discussed. And I think a lot of big things happen when you get together with people who get you, right? They get you. It's like the conversation is different. We talk about this on the podcast here a lot. The conversation is different when you're speaking to people in the same level and above, or, doing the same thing, and not like your neighbor who works 9 to 5 in a normal job. And so it's not even the same if you're talking to fellow entrepreneurs, right? It's a little bit different. It's really hard to have conversations about, wholesale and revenue streams and, your staff and all that to other people. And it's great to hear. It was great to hear the conversations that were happening amongst the members that were here. So we had some structured sessions. We had a lot of structured sessions. However, we also did follow what's unfolding. And I say that regularly, but we kind of let the conversation go as well to hot seats. We had some conversations about challenges and opportunities that are coming. It was all, in my opinion, hopefully, and the feedback that I got from all our members was that they had a wonderful time. So, and educational. We did come here to work, right? So it's really great. I wanted to share a few takeaways. There were a lot, in my opinion. I try to take notes because I learn a lot from my retailers. I mean, don't we all? I mean, I don't know it all. We all learn together, right? So I learned a lot as well too. But some of the things that the conversations that happened, some of the things that we did, I thought might be helpful for you. So I thought I would do a little podcast on that. So one of the things is actually the very first takeaway is about caring about your people. And I think again, I don't know, I keep on saying we're not normalizing caring and loving on your people and actually giving a hoot about your customers. And I think if you're listening to this, hopefully you do care about your customers. A lot of people don't. A lot of retailers are just selling their things. But I don't believe that to be true for most of my clients, certainly not for the group that were here. I think it's really important to acknowledge that and identify that and maybe take a note of that. Like, do we really care about our clients? And everything that I teach, everything that I believe is from the customer's point of view. We don't have a business if our customers aren't happy, if they're not buying from us. We don't have a business. I mean, they can buy from Amazon who does not care about them at all. I mean, they buy from us because we care, because we show interest, because we make them feel seen and heard and understood, and by the products we curate, by the way we speak to them, how we serve them, the events that we run. All of these things are all customer centric. And I believe that the hospitality and the, again, customer experience is everything for this time in retail. Like, this time that we are in retail right now, to me, is about caring about your people. So think about that. Think about how you're caring about your people. I saw that super evident with the group that were with me and the rest of our mastermind members. I don't think I actually work with anybody. I'm trying to think of, like, in the inner circle and in my private programs and my one-on-one coaching calls. I don't think I actually have run across any retailer that is in my world, and hopefully that's you as well, that doesn't care about their people. But what we have to do is make sure that we are mindful of that all the time. We have to be mindful. It's not about us. Our businesses are not about us. It is about them. So it's about our customers. Again, if we don't have clients and we don't have customers and we don't have people buying our things and wanting to buy our things and spreading the word and spreading the joy, and if we're not treating them with utmost hospitality and, care and all of the things, then there's no business. So there's lots of things we have to do to keep our business running. A lot, and we did cover that during the mastermind, especially the 4 parts of what I call the ecosystem. But really, it's about your clients and caring and actually giving a hoot about your people. So your takeaway from that maybe you can look at through the lens of your shop is, how are we caring for our people and how are we really showing up, and really thinking about the strategy that you are using around customer experience and hospitality and product development and all of the things. So that was a big thing, for me, that my peers, and again, not talking smack about them, they just run their businesses differently, more anonymously, more whatever. They do care about their clients. They don't care about them, but, like, I intimately care about them. I want to normalize that. And I think a lot of the retailers I work with are intimately caring about their clients as well too. So they care about the books they read. They care about the candles that they buy from them, that, that they burn and that the wick's not, and they're not too strong. And there's conversation that happens for the customer, right? And how the customer is treated. And that's caring. That's caring about your client. And, not just about the bottom line, right? So that's why accountants can't run businesses, but accountants need to be part of our business. But anyhow, that's another whole thing, right? So the second takeaway, the second big thing that came up, and this is probably going to be a long podcast, sorry guys, but the second takeaway is we can't create in a silo. So what I mean by that, and I say this regularly, and you've all heard it before, but ideas come and things happen from conversation with being around your peers, being around people who get it. What I saw happening during our retreat, so we had a big farmhouse table we were working around, and so during that time, and then we also had a living room area that we were sitting in, and during that time, and then at supper, and then walking, and then talking, and just hanging out, I saw some incredible ideas percolating and ideas happen. I saw sparks ignite, like conversations ignited sparks and sparked ideas. I saw different people in that group who are at different stages inspire each other with different ideas. And that is magic in my books. That is where things happen. You can't possibly you can't Google an idea like Dear Google or ChatGPT or whatever. You can't Google what other people are doing. Like you just can't. Things that work, conversations that happen. One tiny little one, I'll just give you one example, is Megan from Sandwich Bay Candles brought her printed newsletter that she does. She was inspired by Millie from Mrs. Blackwell's bookshop, a village bookshop in New Zealand. She was inspired by, Millie had mentioned before that she does a printed newsletter, so Megan started doing it. Megan brought it with her to show us, and that's what she gave all of us, just a copy to see. And then another retailer was like, wow, that's so smart, and my people would love that. And, everybody gets sparks of ideas. That's just one example. So, Jess came home and she immediately implemented that and has like a monthly newsletter now. Just one tiny little spark of an idea that rippled through different retailers. And how is that going to help their clients? Their clients are going to love that. They're going to feel better about it. There's just ripple effects that happen, but we can't create in a silo. I saw other retailers just take ideas and run. One of our retailers said, I have 45 things on a list, and all doable and actionable and exciting, and it came from sparks and came from ideas and it came from conversations that we don't have. This is why we do this. This is why we bring people together. This is why we gather together. So again, you can't Google, give me a good idea. And I don't give a hoot about, how amazing ChatGPT is for ideas. You're still creating in a silo, even with ChatGPT's ideas, like give me some ideas on how I can nurture my clients. I'm sure there's all kinds, but when you actually see things in action that are working for other people, and when you can have conversations with people, again, that was just like the newsletter was just one tiny little thing. I just want to remind you, and your action, I guess, on this part and things that you can do is like, where are you connecting with other small business owners, other shop owners? Where are you brainstorming with them? Where are you hanging out with them? So I know if you're a member of our private coaching group, which is the Retailers Inner Circle, I see a lot of that happen inside our group, and the doors are open. You're welcome to join us in there. If you're looking for that type of peer group, we do that in there. Of course, we also have the mastermind group. The waitlist is open. I'm going to totally talk about these things because these are the containers that I have created to bring people together to get these ideas sparked for you. So sometimes you just need to be around other people doing awesome things, and it just all rubs off on you, right? So you get to think and hear things, even if you're not even thinking about it. Like you didn't even know you wanted to do a printed newsletter until you heard somebody else or you saw the results. Or I know one of the girls physically held Megan's newsletter in her hand, and she was like, this is phenomenal. I would never have done that. She had heard the conversation before with other retailers, and she was like, yeah, that's not something my people want. But then when she physically held it in her hand, she was like, oh, I'm going to do this. So anyhow, just wanted to share that. That's number 2. Number 3 is I brought in my business coach, April Stroink, joined us. She's a Profits First professional. So she drove in and she did a whole session. She stayed with us for a couple of hours. It was phenomenal. April is amazing. April's been here on the podcast before. She did an interview with us in the podcast. If you're a member of the Retailers Inner Circle program, we have a Profits First 101, I guess, and understanding Profits First in our Inner Circle library. So go look that up if you're a member of the Inner Circle. But she actually came and really broke down. We actually did a game, believe it or not, we did a game and really broke down how the same money in, we did a whole workshop on, Susie or Donna, I think the girl's name was, that we did the example with, the same money in running Profits First versus the same money in just running the way most of us run our businesses, cash-based balance, there's money in the account, let's pay for it. I've personally been running Profits First through April, working with April for a few years now. I don't even know. And it's one of the greatest things that I have done in my business, hands down. So, and I do know that there was a huge conversation when April was with us, and then there was a ripple conversation that happened after, lots of discussion about implementing profits first, a lot of conversation about money. We have all kinds of conversations during the mastermind. So I thought that was a huge takeaway. And I just wanted to remind you again, April came on the podcast, so we'll have that in the show notes for you. A really good podcast guest or a really good podcast host would have the episode number ready, but I don't have it out. But she came in, and I'll link that. And I want to just remind you, go pick up Mike Michalowicz's book called Profits First. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a great introduction. I personally find the book really hard. I'm not a good math book reader, implementing deep strategy, but the concept, and I think April even mentioned, if you just read the first 2 chapters, you really get a great concept of it. And then understanding why we need to make sure we are taking profit and pay and planning out our operations. It's not chasing top line revenue. I know I'm a broken record around that. It's really understanding where your money is going. And again, we have sessions inside the Inner Circle from April from Profits First, but also on how to understand where your money is going and how to figure out that. So that was a takeaway. I think everybody loved. I think that was the feedback I got from all of our members, that they really loved the Profits First session. And go check out April as well too. She has a phenomenal website and a great program, and she's a fantastic coach. I am privileged and have a pleasure of working with her for the last few years, and I love working with her. So the next one is number 4. The line that I used when I think about this is relationships are rocket fuel, is one of my favorite lines, because relationships are rocket fuel. Who you surround yourself with matters. Again, these mastermind members, our Level Up Mastermind members, our Inner Circle members, your peer group, but also thinking about your team, thinking about who has helped you along the way. We did a short gratitude exercise. I guess it's an exercise. We did a gratitude exercise about thinking about who helped us along the way and going back and over, from the beginning of running our shops right up until now, who has been an important key player, who have been important clients to us. Sometimes we just keep moving forward and we forget to look back at relationships, or maybe we've dropped some relationships, or those types of things. But I wanted to remind our members, who's important to you, who has been important to you, who is important to you. Maybe it's a mentor, maybe it's a client who's been supportive, maybe it's a business neighbor. And of course, your team, your vendors, your suppliers. It's really important to remember all of the relationships that we're nurturing and to be intentional about them. And family, of course. But one of the things one of the takeaways that I've noticed we did during the retreat on relationships was talking about team culture and how to speak to our team and what's important to our team. And again, building up that relationship. It is important. It's important to have that relationship and being intentional with it. So that was a big takeaway as well too. Just I wanted to bring this to the podcast and remind you to pay attention and pay attention and be intentional about the relationships that you have and that you are building in your business. One takeaway, one of our retailers really made note of some of her top clients and just sent them all thank you notes, handwritten thank you notes from Lunenburg. So, postcards, and sent, just wanted to appreciate you as a client. I thought that was lovely. And that's just to give you an example. We have clients that we really appreciate, right? We have people, teams, we have vendors, we have suppliers, we have, again, coworkers, we have, maybe there's a fellow mastermind member or somebody in your coaching group that you really appreciate. Tell them, let them know. Sometimes it's just really important to understand communication and remember the line, relationships are rocket fuel. So that's my takeaway for you. And I'd love to just have you stew on that and think about how that works for you. Okay, I know this is running a little bit long, so I will jump to the next one. Number 5 is, you guys, a takeaway that should be evident, but if you're not doing this, this is what my retailers are doing. This is what the successful retailers are doing. They are investing in their personal and business development. just by coming to the retreat. It was a huge investment for all of them. I mean, they had to, planes, trains, ferries, automobiles, take time away from the shop, take time away from their families, get babysitters, arrange dog sitters, all of the things that we have to do to go away. And investing, it's expensive to travel. We all know that. So let's just call it what it is. They had to invest a lot of money. They had to invest in coming to work with me. They had to invest mental capacity, like they had to sort of put a pin in it for what they were doing with their businesses and say, okay, I'm going to go and focus on this part of my business. And that's important for growth. I call it a growth hedge. A lot of the times when we're at that stage where we're wanting more for our business, or we want something different, or we want a different result, or we want to see, more or better or different. We want to be, want to do, want to have different things, and everything's fine, but we want just that next level. That's called a growth edge, and it's usually uncomfortable, but it usually means we have to learn something new, invest in our skill development, and we're forever and always going to have to invest in our personal and business development. If you're self-employed, this is how we roll. These are things you have to do. So again, I always tell people, I always say this, and I've probably said it a million times in the podcast, but show me your calendar and show me your bank account, and I'll show you what you value and what's important to you. And if skill development and growth and business development is not on your budget or your calendar, then it's not going to change. So a shout out to everybody that showed up for the retreat. They've invested time and money and energy, and skill development is really important. Personal and business development, as I just said, it's investing CEO time. Y'all know I love to call it my CEO time. It's investing in your business. And one line, I share this a lot as well too, but one thing that we have to reframe, we have to flip the script in our brain is, doing things the same way, we get the same results. I've heard it said, old way pride versus old way pride will get you in trouble. It's what your business needs today. So old way pride means we've always done it that way, or I've just always managed okay and everything's fine. But what does your business need you to do? What does your business need you to invest in? So taking that as a takeaway, I'm so proud of the retailers that showed up and invested so much time, and they were helping each other. They were, and I don't take it lightly that they had to invest time and money, but man, did they show up for each other and for themselves. I think everybody went home with huge momentum, I guess, and on that growth edge changing. One of our retailers literally went home and put an offer on a building from a conversation in a hot seat that we had. So literally, and I believe the offer was accepted and she's getting a new building. So it's crazy, right? Some big things can happen when you invest. That's a growth edge, if I ever saw one. But anyway, that's a big thing. We have other retailers who have left the retreat or meetings, and they're just making big decisions and scary decisions. And it's hard. It's hard if you don't have people to lean into and mentors, and you don't invest in those skills of getting past that and having those people around you. So that's number 5. The takeaway is really making sure that, and asking yourself and looking at your calendar and asking yourself, where am I investing in my personal and my business development so that I can be, do, and have what I want for my business? That would be the question and takeaway for that. Okay, number 6, CEO time, because I know I mentioned the CEO portion during number 5, but I always like to say, again, as a broken record, CEO is not chief of everything officer. Think about it. We have a tendency to think, we're the boss, we do all the things. You are not chief of everything. So you should be the chief of the big things, the chief of the higher big things. And this takeaway is kind of funny. So this is really about being in a leader mindset and understanding how to delegate and understanding what is your role, where are you spending your time, are you doing CEO dates? Everything needs a strategy. Your job is to be the strategist in your business. That's one of your jobs, is to understand. And strategy really just means this is the plan, and then being able to answer, why are we doing the plan? Like, why are we doing it this way? It's simple as that. Strategy, the word strategy is to kind of like scare me. But really now I just look at it and it says, okay, we have all these ideas of all these things that we could do. What is it we are trying to achieve and why? And what are we going to do to achieve them? Like, it's literally, that's it. That's what strategy is. But understanding that it all starts with you at the top. You're at the top of this funnel, right? You're the visionary. You are the chief of the big things, not the chief of everything. So chief of the big things means you have to decide on the strategy that we're going to do to get our marketing in place, the strategy that we need to understand the numbers and how we're going to make our money this year. We had lots of conversations about revenue streams. We had lots of conversations about buying buildings and all these different things. And that's in big talk. That's the important stuff. One of the funniest things, I don't know if this will come across as funny as it was in our conversation, but one of the conversations with the group was with this retailer who was talking about buying this new building. And she's talking also about profits first. And she said, here we are trying to this is how a day in the life of a retailer for a lot of us is. She's like, I'm sitting there working on my profits first, doing my big vision plan, trying to do deep work, trying to understand the numbers around whether the building, makes sense and all the things. And then one of her employees walks in and says, hey, we need bin bags. Can you order bin bags? So she stops everything and orders bin bags because we can't run out of bin bags, garbage bags, right? It's just so funny. It's so true, right? So we were also talking about systems, and that would be a good system to put in place. Like, we should not be ordering the bin bags. Okay? Stop ordering the bin bag. It was really funny at the time. Hopefully it makes sense to you. But if that's so true, right? We're trying to do these big things and then poof, a small, insignificant thing, an important thing. We still need garbage bags. We still need things to happen, but it doesn't always have to be us doing it. So the takeaway I want to give you here is be mindful of your CEO time. Like, be protective, put boundaries around that. Be a leader of your business. Be the chief of big things. If you have to think of it as some things, you are the visionary. It is your job to understand strategy. It is your job for the business, like what's best for this beautiful business that you're building. It is your job to plan ahead, right? So the future of your business, it is your job to do all these things. It's not your job to do every single little thing in your business. It's your job to figure out maybe how we can get all that done, because we still need bin bags, but it's not your job to do all the things. So I hope that you can learn from that. I hope that your action step from that part of it would be, how are you showing up as the CEO and the visionary and putting strategy in place in all of the important areas of your business, and what needs to come off your plate, and where are you spending your time, and is what you're doing and what you're working on really what you should be working on? So I'm going to leave it at that with you. Okay, we also talked a lot about marketing. I'm going to put that in another episode. I'm going to share the 3 big levers that I think everybody should be working on and that we all talked about and we worked on. I will share that on the next episode here at the Creative Shop Talk podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us today. Again, it was such a pleasure to have our retailers here in my little town. My husband and I, John, we had a wonderful visit with everybody. We really enjoyed, our buckets were filled having everybody here, and I'm hoping all their buckets were filled as well too, because again, business is personal and it's a ripple effect. It's, I do what I do because I love seeing retailers thrive, and I love seeing their communities thrive. I love seeing their families thrive. And mixing that together, I know their businesses. I met their husbands. We sat around campfires. We chatted. We had conversations. Again, I always invite the partners to the social events as well, like dinner and all of the things, because it's not just about the business, right? It's a mix, it's a blend, it's what we do, it's our lives, it's our livelihoods, it's your livelihood. So I was grateful, and if you're listening and you were a member that was here with us, I was truly honored that you all came. and that you were here. We had a wonderful visit, and I hope you did. If you are not a member of the Level Up Mastermind and you would like to be part of this fabulous, amazing group, and that I'm honored to host again, I get to host this container, and it's open for waitlist right now. So it's a year-long program, and you can find out information on my website. We'll also have a link here on the podcast notes. And also our even easier way, if you just want to try out all our resources, all of these things I talk about, all of my mythology, all of my frameworks, everything that I talk about. And if this is the way you like to do business, you can also join our Retailers Inner Circle program, which is my private coaching group. It is available for retailers to join anytime. So you're welcome to join us there as well too. I hope you'll consider it. Hope you'll consider finding your peep. I hope you found this episode helpful. Next week, I am going to be sharing our marketing takeaways that we took from the mastermind. So thanks for being here. We'll see you next week. Hey, I just wanted to ask you a quick favor. We are providing this podcast for free. We've been doing it for almost 3 years now, actually over 3 years. And the only thing I ask in return, I would love if you would share this episode with a fellow retailer. If you know somebody who's a retailer, just send it off to them. Send them a screenshot. Share it in your Instagram. If you could share it, that's how we spread the podcast love. I would be so eternally grateful. Thank you, my friend. Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Creative Shop Talk podcast. I'm so glad that you're here to join us this week, and I hope you found value in what we're sharing here. I want to remind you that our website has all of the show notes. You can find it at wendybatten.com/podcast. Everything that you need to hear about today's podcast is there. Also an opportunity if you need to reach out to me. If I can support you in any way whatsoever, please feel free to reach out. So thanks for joining us. Please leave a review, subscribe if you can, and never miss an episode. We hope to see you back here again next week. Thanks, my friend. Have a great week.